Welcome back. It is Monday, and you know what that means. We usually do Monday motivation, but this week we are doing a mental health minute, a three-part series on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of this week, kind of ending up Mental Health Awareness Month. And it is a powerful panel discussion that I am splitting up to a three-part series. And the title of this series is called The Cost of Being Strong: Mental Health, and the Myth of Resilience in Black and Brown Communities. If you ever been told to stay strong when you were barely holding it together, this episode is for you. In our community, strength is often seen as survival. But what happens when survival comes at the expense of our mental health? Today, we're getting real about the pressures to be the strong one, the one who never breaks, never rests, never asks for help. We're here to say enough. Strength doesn't mean suffering in silence. Let's talk about what healing really looks like and why it's okay to let go, breathe, and finally put yourself first. And today I'm excited because I have a full crew of the Healing Squad in the building, minus a few members, but almost a whole crew of the Healing Squad. And I asked this panel to come through to bless us with some gems. And one of my Healing Squad members volunteered to start this conversation off with the first question. So, Ms. Daisy, you know what the question is. You know what we're talking about. What you got for us today?
Right. So when I read this question, I had to stick with my gut response, right? So I wasn't trying to overthink it, but just trying to look at it and say, okay, what's coming up for me? And some things that were coming up for me, whether it's in the work that I do or personally, is crying in silence and smiling in public, and how a lot of what being strong is in Black and Brown communities is suppressing and internalizing what we're really feeling and what we're really thinking from day to day. So that was one of my initial responses when I was reading this question. And then how does that shape our relationship with vulnerability and mental health? Well, I think it really makes it hard to acknowledge our experiences as trauma, right? So we have these experiences every day and we're like, oh, it's fine. I got through it. I was able to make it. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was okay. And being able to acknowledge our experiences for what they are is a really, really important step in that healing.
I love that you said all of that, Daisy. Because much like you, right, kind of going from my gut, I think a lot of what being strong looks like is for us here is that it's looked a lot like emotional suppression, over functioning, right? Constant self-sacrifice, being strong and the caregiver and super person, right? I think it's become rooted in our survival, right? Like strength was necessary, a necessary thing that we had to endure, and something that we still have to endure with all this systemic racism and generational poverty that we're all trying to talk about and learn to overcome. And that vulnerability and our ability to kind of navigate these things is, I think that's also being framed as like a luxury or a liability, right? Because we know that vulnerability is kind of the way that we heal to feel, but we're not, I think communally, we're still not fully leveraging vulnerability as that mechanism for healing, right? And I think it is a narrative that we use to mask pain as pride, right? Like, oh, you're not really hurting us. Maybe you got a little too much ego or something, right? And I think that is also centered like in our men, right? That toxic masculinity, I think also comes up in that, and toxic positivity also shows up in that. And I think when we lean into it and we really try to disrupt like what it is, sometimes we feel like it's a betrayal of our own identities or a betrayal to our community when we are looking at what it takes for us to be strong, and when we say we don't want to be that strong person anymore, or we are now saying like check on your strong friends, right? It's all of that, right? We feel bad, I think, for those moments where we don't feel that we're showing up as being strong.
I was gonna go ahead and mention from my experience that strong person look like it's a sickness. I'm speaking that from my experience, and being strong is not a bad thing because we always need someone to be strong to be an example to look at. At the same time, it's like almost a silo. You have that little bubble around you, and it's hard for people to penetrate it because it's a voluntary bubble. It's like you can let it down, but you don't want to because like a defense mechanism. So that's how I think of it because I call myself being a strong one, and now my bubble down. It's when somebody offers me help, I pull them in real quick. Like, oh yeah, I'll take your help because I'm sick of being sick. So I'm strong when I need to be, but at the same time, strength also means that you are able to accept help. So sometimes the strong is like a facade because are you really that strong if you're not accepting assistance to keep you strong? You pouring from an empty glass. So that's how what makes me think of it. So thinking about parents, grandparents, and they always helping somebody seeming like they're strong, but really it's like weakness disguised. That's my perception of it.
I want to say, when you get on the airplane, what do they tell you? Put your own mask on first. We got to learn before I can help somebody else. I need to be able to breathe. I need to be able to be sustained. How can I help you when my foundation is shattered, right? Because the more I put on me, the more that foundation is going to crumble and crack. It's okay to be strong, but it's okay to be vulnerable too. And so, learning growing up in a house in a neighborhood full of nothing but strong black women, right? Nothing but strong black women in the community. Where did I see them be vulnerable at? Very, very seldom. If my mother cried, that meant y'all better move because if mama crying, it's about to go up, right? It's about to go up, right? So I'm like, it's okay for me to hurt and still be strong, but it's okay for me to hurt and say, look, I don't feel like it. No, I'm not doing it. I don't feel like it. Don't ask me. And so in getting to be the age that I am, by the time I was 40, I kind of figured it out. By the time I was 50, I was saying, hell no. Now that I'm 60, I'll be like, nope. And no is a whole sentence for me. Being able to say no and feel okay with it. And that don't mean I don't love you. That don't mean I won't help you. But I've given you, if you close to me, then I'm always giving tools. I'm always teaching. What are you doing to utilize those skills that I've given you? And when I meet my students, having a set time that they can call me, my those I supervise, no, don't call me. No, and being okay with it. I wasn't okay with it at 30. I was learning about it at 40. By the time I was 50, I was feeling real good about it. Now that I'm 60, I'm all okay with burning that superwoman cape. I burn her because if I don't burn her, she keep running. Every time I look around, she on my back. No, go somewhere with that. So it's not easy to do it, but it's so relevant. If we want to survive and rebuild our communities in the way that they need to be rebuilt, we got to take care of self first. Put your own mask on first.
To that point, Dr. J, I think it's important to name when you're on a flight and they're talking about putting your mask on first, they say something before that. They say in case of emergencies. And the more and more I thought about that, like, why should I just put my mask on in case of emergencies? And I think that's what my grandparents did. They put themselves first when it was too late. Strokes, diabetes, high blood pressure, and they would put on their mask, then they'll start eating, right? Then everything comes up. So now they're trying to do better. But like, no, we deserve to put on our mask every single day. That's what it truly looks like. And like when we're talking about black and browns and strength or being strong in the community, it's a masquerade ball because everybody got on a whole bunch of masks. It's not real, it's fake. Because if you're real, you'll be vulnerable. You let people know that, hey, I'm not doing well. My heart hurts. Or you have joy. I see people suppress joy too. And so if we're really talking about what strength is being your authentic self all of the time. So you're not hustling and being shackled in other people's reality. You're being you all the time. So I'm happy, I'm sad, and I have a range of emotions. It's not either or, it's both and. You get all of me all the time. So you get to see what's in my spirit, what's in my heart, what's in my mind, and you get to react off of that. Now, how you receive that, that's on you. But if you start acting shady, whatever, I'm not going to dim my light so you can shine brighter, brother or sister or whoever. I'm going to be me because my mental health matters and how I treat me matters. So, like, when we're looking at all these things of mental health and vulnerability and being strong in the community, like we have to be different and we have to approach things different. And for me, I had to parent different. I remember my mom telling me, oh, it was my dad say, "I give you something to cry about." Like you're threatening violence towards me, literally. Like, and I get it, the black and brown community, but then we also get mad when police threaten violence against us. It's normed. We're used to it. And so if I want my kids to experience it, have a different experience, how I approach them, I have to do it through love and vulnerability. Hey, son, you can't do that, partner. That hurts my feelings. That's why I'm really upset. That's why I'm really threatened. I feel disrespected. Could you not do that anymore? Because that hurts dad's heart.
I would just throw in there, I appreciate everything. And I would just throw in there, my mind went straight to like visuals, right? So I started to think about before I go in the house, sitting in the car, frustrated, hurt, broken, but I got to go show up, right? I thought about um, women. I've had women clients where they're in relationships and they just got to stay strong, stick it out, right? Like, and they know that's not the relationship for them, right? I thought about the individuals who I've worked with who they prayed about it all day long, but they ain't go seek no professional help, right? But that prayer kept them strong, right? And that don't mean you don't pray. It just means there's other work that goes along with that, right? But my mind went straight to the visuals and representations that I've seen in terms of what it looks like being strong, because so many of us, like you said, it is a masquerade ball all day long, right? And I think the way in which it impacts us is it becomes cyclical, right? And so now instead of me telling my sons don't cry, I say, all right, there's times where we cry and let's talk about that. But then there's times where we got to figure out why are we crying about that, right? And so the way in which I'm talking about it with them is different, and they see me cry, right? My kids will come to me like, "Dad, you cry like this," right? They'll make fun of me, but at least they've seen me cry, but they also get to see Daddy don't play no games, right? And so when I think about this question, I just started to think about the visuals that I've seen.
Love that. We're going to move to the next question, y'all, because that one we could have been on for 2 hours. So I have to pull us back in real quick. And you know what? That last question made me think of this quote, and it's unknown. Being strong has kept us alive, but it shouldn't cost us our peace. That was the quote. Made me think of that specific question there. I'm gonna put the second question in the chat. There you go. In what ways has the myth of resilience been used to dismiss or ignore the real emotional and psychological needs of marginalized communities? Yeah, that's a heavy ass question. Who's ready to lift it? Let's go.
I'll jump in there and just say, I like where it says the myth of resilience, right? Because it goes back to this idea of what being strong means in the Black and brown community or any marginalized community. And so the myth of resilience is pull yourself up by the bootstraps. I've harmed you, I've attacked you, I've set you back, but you don't get the opportunity to adapt. Resilience, that ability to adapt, to be flexible, to bounce back. No, I'm not going to let you bounce back because you can't cry. You can't be vulnerable, right? And so I think for marginalized community, it's harm beyond ways imaginable. We talk about generational curses and all this stuff. A lot of the things is generational offenses, right? And so the more that we have this understanding and intelligence of what the thing is, now it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's a duck, right? So now I think it's about the strength of standing up against these things where now I'm allowed to. I said earlier in the introduction, I love everybody was talking about, really agency, right? Like I'm me, you take it or leave it. That's strong. It takes a strong person to get to that point, which a lot of times are people like us who are passionate about helping people. And so I think it's up to people like us, which we do use our voices and let people know that this resilience thing, listen, let me show you what it really looks like, right? Let me show you what it really looks like and how now we can use that to get the help when we need it. We can cry when we need to cry. It ain't just, oh, bro, do some push-ups or something. It ain't just, oh, you know what? You're just being too emotional about this, sis. So I think really it's about seeing what it means for you and really getting to the root of the issue. And I come back to that word right there, myth of resilience, just being able to share and let people understand what resilience really means in the face of being marginalized, in the face of being attacked, pushed down, squashed, not given a voice. I think that's where that true power comes. And now we can kind of erase some of the things, or at least start to erase some of the harms that's been done.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna add on because I got a 6-year-old daughter, and I think she has learned this from me, like that myth of resilience. Mama be strong way too much because something happens. She like will fall, her feelings will get hurt, and she'll look at me. She's like, "Mommy, I can't cry." I'm like, "Who said you can't cry?" So she be like, "I can't cry." I'm like, "Girl, let it out." She be like, "Ah." I'm like, "You can cry. It's okay." She's like, "But I don't want you to be mad at me that I'm crying." I'm like, "Who told you that?" Like I was like baffled, but I remember. Mama hold it in all the time, and then by the time I cry, everything like you just said, everything fell apart at that point. I didn't held it in. That resilience that I thought I was showing really I was holding chronic stress. But a lot of people have chronic stress, and they don't realize they think it's resilience, but it's chronic. You're hurting your heart, hurting your immune system. All the systems is going down because we think we're being resilient. So that's how I would say that psychological, and I'm going to say physical as well, physical harm as well, going into that resilience factor because the help that we really need is like right on the other side of where we think we can't reach. It's just right there, but we trying to be resilient, and really it's so harmful that we can't even what's the word get help from our brothers and sisters to help build each other up.
I
Yeah.
feel like when I think of the myth of resilience, what comes up for me is the myth of resilience teaches marginalized communities that emotional and psychological needs are optional, that your needs and what you experience is something that you can opt into, but that it's not a necessity. And so when I think of the fact that everybody has, like I mentioned in our previous talk, we all have these little paper cuts, these wounds that we have within us, and the strength of, oh, I need to be strong, I need to put this to the side, I need to overcome, I need to do. That is telling us that we don't have an opportunity to feel, and it doesn't create this space for you to actually exist as who you are. And this idea that like, oh, I can't be two things at the same time. Mommy, I fell down. I can't cry. It's like you can cry, and crying is going to save your life. Feeling is going to heal who you are, and letting anger drive solution is going to create new reality. And so I think that myth prevents us from actualizing, right? Like you're not able to like create what you need to thrive because you viewed it in your head like, oh, like I'm taking today off because today feels awful for me. I can't do that because I need to be strong. And like, for example, with me, yesterday I was sick all day long and I was so emotional about it. And like reflecting, I'm like, why do I feel like I cannot be sick? Why do I feel like I can't be on and working on my business and da 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 da. And so I think like it teaches you that by sacrificing the feelings that you have internally and your psychological needs, you're not able to have what you truly need, which is healing and fruition and joy.
I think this myth of resilience, right? Like I think it justifies a neglect, right? It gives like this justification to like they're strong, they'll be fine. or it becomes this weaponized compliment, right? Like, oh, I admire your endurance. But it's not like acknowledging that it exists within a structure, right? Or that it came without like some support and that it came with the sacrifice, right? And I think it creates also this like false binary of like either you're strong and silent or you're weak and needy, right? And as we see like this myth of resilience, it shifts the burden from healing like within the collective or within our institutions, like because these are the systems that it exists in, but it puts the burden and the onus on the individual. And I think that's kind of what we're all touching on. Like there's this historical harm and this persistent, right, and perpetual systemic oppression that comes with this myth of resilience when we exist that way. And it's like it celebrates this idea that resilience is great, but it doesn't acknowledge the trauma behind it that necessitated why we had to be resilient in the first place.
When I was thinking about, going along with what everybody said too, I think the myth of resilience, like, yes, having resilience can make you feel very empowered and strong, and those are really great qualities, but I also feel like resilience can make someone feel very isolated and really feel like they have to exist by themselves and navigate by themselves. And sometimes somebody said this to me and I was like, whoa. But somebody once told me, like, just because you can handle it doesn't mean you should, right? Just because you can do this doesn't mean you should be doing this, or that you have to do this alone, right? And that was like a really like wow moment for me, and something that I constantly like think about now when I'm faced with some challenges. And it's just like, no, like, where are my supports? Where's my community? Where are the things around me where I don't have to exist by myself? Like, why does resilience have to be so isolating, right? Rosina mentioned like having it be weaponized, and that is like true, right? Black and brown communities, like that resilience and how like it's almost being used as like the opposite of what it's supposed to mean, right? And so I just think of it as being very isolating, and how it kind of shuts us off from being able to say like, hey, can you help me out with this?
I love that, Daisy, because I thought about an experience I've had, and I know other people have had this experience. Um, you actually end up getting people that look like you who almost treat you as though you're supposed to go through the same thing because you have that resilience. And so they don't just say, no, 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 don't do that, do this. That way it'll be, you don't have to go, well, you don't have to go through what I went through. But it's almost like it's a rites of passage. You got to go what I went through because I know you can take it. But I'm like, that's not how it's supposed to work, right? So when I see that question, I'm like, man, I had that experience. I'm like, you're supposed to be with me. You know what I'm saying? But it don't work like that sometimes.
Like when I first read this question, Adam, I was like, resilience is overrated. Like, I don't want it. I don't want it anymore. Like, resilience often means like some kind of harm has happened, and I gotta find a way to pick myself back together and move past it. I'm sick of putting myself back together to move past it. And so, like, in like a lot of what y'all amazing people already said, it's weaponized in the way that if you don't overcome the harm that I'm putting on you, that society is doing to you, then you're weak. If you say anything about it, you're complaining. And in like Dr. Joe was saying, in with your own community, sometimes with your own family, it's if you can't do it just like I did it, then you don't deserve to be a part of this family. And I'm like looking like, if this is what resilience is, sacrificing my mind, body, and spirit, my soul, in order to fit in, while like constant harm is happening, in order to get some battle scars, like I don't want it. I don't want that. Because during resilience, there's no joy. You're not smiling while you're trying to put yourself back together. Like I don't want it. So it is like a myth. And I would say the resilience Mike Sykes wants is the resilience in how I talk to me. Can I pour into me and give myself grace and talk to myself nicely and empowering and affirming consistently? That's the resilience that I work on every day.